PC streaming thing works?
Sure. You have one PC that has a capture card that takes an input from another PC, and then you use that PC to process the image and send it out as a stream.
So is your blank canvas or your OBS or whatever running on PC1 or PC2 that then accepts the capture card?
It runs on the PC that's streaming and doesn't have the capture card. The gaming computer has the capture card. Oh, no, wait. The streaming computer has the capture card, and it gets the image from the gaming PC. And then it compresses it and uses OBS on that computer.
I get you. Is that something that OBS supports like natively, or did you have to do plugins to get that shit going?
No, it supports it natively now.
That's really cool. Because I've always thought for like the longest time you've had like one of the highest quality streams on Twitch with like the least amount of interruption.
Yeah, I tried to.
And what up and down do you have to support it?
You really only need probably 10 up to do it. For me personally, my line is I've got 300 down and 30 up, theoretically.
What do you mean theoretically?
It doesn't always play out that way. I get a shitty ISP.
Don't you guys have that meme there where it's sort of like it gets split at the box between whoever's using it at the time?
Kind of. I mean, it happens on the street level, but yeah. I mean, that happens with the internet all over the world, though. I mean, everything is split at some point, be it between nodes and whatnot.
Yeah, it's better than the 2 up max we can get here without paying $500 a month.
Yeah, I've only ever heard really bad things about Australian internet. I'm sorry.
Our download's fine. Like, don't get me wrong, I can get 100 down, like, no problem.
Oh, sure. I guess I mainly talk to like streamers and whatnot, and then also the fact that you guys are fucked in latency, so you can only play with like Chinese people and whatnot.
Yeah, and that greatly impacts the quality of our experience.
Yeah, and the players that you can produce as well. Yeah.
Do you know any Australian streamers at all? Because like I've never heard of any.
Yeah. In StarCraft, there was a guy called Moonglade. You never heard about him? Yeah, he was really popular. He also had a really attractive. I say attractive. That's kind of mean. But there's a girl called Cheeky Duck, who is an Australian female caster. I don't think she does anything related to esports. And then her little sister, Livy B, who is a streamer.
I've heard of Livy B. I think I've heard you not shit talk, but tell some stories.
Yeah, kind of a little bit, but yeah, she was. I'm pretty sure she's Australian. Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of any of those people. So how come you stopped StarCraft? Tell me.
Dying game, shrinking community seemed important to diversify. I want to stream as my primary source of income and continue to do so. So staying with a game with a dwindling audience seemed like a bad move, career-wise.
Do you think all the support Blizzard have done recently too little, too late?
Yeah, definitely too little, too late. But I mean, it's good. They're moving in good directions, but
yeah, it's fair enough. I don't know whether or not you know this, but like the StarCraft numbers are like a little bit inflated as well, because on the trial copy that you can get through Battle.net, what you can actually do with the trial account is like quite a lot. You can play custom lobbies as much as you want. Pretty much the only restriction is campaign and
ladder.
Yeah, they're the only two restrictions really. Which I think there's just a lot of people sitting in there on trial accounts, fucking with friends or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Also, man, go talk about your music taste. It's a bit ambient.
What's wrong with my music taste?
It's a bit ambient, man. Like I don't know. Sometimes
what does ambient mean?
What do you mean? What does ambient mean? It's a bit atmospheric, not a little not direct. It's very
Oh, okay. Now, yeah, I know that. I know what that means. I just have. I guess I mean, I listen to some stuff that's not really ambient though, so I don't know. But I guess it depends on when you listen to my stream, what you'll hear.
I don't know. Typically, dudes like of your background listen to power metal. You know, a lot of dragons and shit.
Wait, what do you mean?
I'm trolling. Sorry, I'm trolling.
Gotcha.
Tell me, I'm a pretty big music person myself. You know, I've played guitar for a really, really long time and whatnot. What got you into wanting to study it as opposed to hang out in a garage and jam?
I guess when I was growing up, my parents did they did a daycare in their home. That's what they did to earn money, and it was a 24/7 daycare. So we always had 12 other children at the house, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My mom was the primary caretaker, and then my dad went off and did work or whatever. So I was pretty independent growing up. I was usually left on my own. My parents didn't really do much with me. And then when I was 14, my mom moved. And then when I was 15, 16, my dad moved. So I'd always kind of kept to myself or been relatively independent. And I guess in all of that time, in terms of figuring out like hobbies and things to make me happy, it seemed really important to have something that was independent of other people, because I didn't really figure that people were reliable sources of constant, I guess, happiness. That sounds really depressing, but it's not as depressing as I make it sound. So music was like a really good alternative to that, because no matter what was going on or what or anything, right? If you have some hobby that is like that can never be taken from you, or it can never change or anything. I always consider that to be a really good thing. So music was always like my passion growing up through high school and whatnot. So I decided to study it in school, I guess, right? That kind of makes sense.
What was the first group, artist, band, whatever that you were really, really into?
Linkin Park, believe it or not. Yep. I remember buying the Live from Texas Meteora CD or whatever, I think. Yeah, Meteora, yeah, would have been it.
Yeah, dude, I can see those wounds in your eyes. They won't heal, eh?
Nope, never.
Linkin Park did a live in Texas CD?
They must have. I remember buying it. I think Chester was on the front, like screaming into his microphone, and it was like a brownish, orangish cover, I think. Hold on. It was the first CD I'd ever bought in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it. Yeah, this thing. Oh no, he wasn't screaming. He was wearing a gas mask. It was this CD though. I think this is the cover of it. Oh, maybe this was just the normal Meteora one. Wait, what was it? I don't remember now. It might have been this one. It was one of these. I'm not sure.
Do you still listen to Linkin Park?
Yeah, occasionally.
Oh, another thing. I fucking completely forgot about this. How does university acceptance work there, as far as leaving high school or secondary school or finishing school, whatever the fuck it's called, and actually getting into a university or college? Like, do you get a standardized mark? How does it go?
Yeah, I mean, there are standardized marks. You have GPAs. Usually, we have something big called standardized tests, and these standardized tests are what everybody takes to see where they'll qualify for a school. Do you have those, like statewide tests or whatever? Or
We have statewide tests. The two ones that I can name and vouch for is called the ATAR and the what's the Victorian one? The VTAC. Yeah, VTAC. And it's made up of your high school units, and you'll get a mark that is a ranking, which is usually aggregated against how the rest of your cohort performed in your state, and then that dictates what course you can get into.
Gotcha.
And then once we actually get into university, we get into debt with the government, which usually has like a 2.5% interest rate, which I know you guys don't have.
Wait, what do you mean we don't have that?
You guys don't have education, like government loans, do you?
Yeah,
for education.
Kind of. They're government subsidized loans, but yeah, we do. We have those.
Does it cover the full amount of the course or only a percentage?
Oftentimes it'll cover the full amount.
We've just implemented something here for lower level degrees like diplomas and whatnot, and trade courses, where the government will only cover the first 10,000 or 15,000, depending on your prior qualification, and then you have to make up the rest.
Oh, sure.
And it works out to about $40 a unit a week.
What is a unit? Is that how you measure like time spent in class or something?
A unit is a class of a semester.
Okay.
So, when you talk about Psych 101, like Psych 101 would have been a unit for a semester.
Okay.
You should go back and finish your degree, man, and give us a really good analysis on Linkin Park.
I've thought about it.
Are you a wrestling fan, Destiny? Do you watch a lot of WWE?
When I was growing up, I don't know if you guys had these same memes or not, but when I was growing up, there were two factions of kids. You had people that watched something called WWF,
Well,
and then you had
yeah,
people
dude, we had
that
that here.
then you had people that watched WCW. I was a WCW kid.
Oh, WCW kid.
Yeah, but I was
If
also like a
it,
big weeb, so I liked all the people with masks. So there was a guy called Rey Mysterio Jr. and there was another guy called Ultimo Dragon, and these guys all wore masks and shit. These were always my favorite wrestlers because they looked cool.
would you let Nathan watch something as degenerate as wrestling?
I guess if he really wanted to, sure. Oh yeah, I remember following it when Goldberg was undefeated for so many wins, and then he finally got defeated, and it was so sad.
Rip Goldberg, eh?
Yep.
You know Goldberg's like back at the moment, yeah?
How old is that dude now?
I don't know. I'll Google it.
Did you ever do the? I admit I did this. Did you ever do the practicing wrestling moves on each other, like the power bombs and shit, or like the scorpion stinger hold and shit?
Oh yeah, I've heard a few friends.
That shit was so fucking stupid. I'm surprised we didn't fucking kill ourselves.
Goldberg's 50, by the way,
Nice.
and he's back. He looks like a really masculine dildo.
Interesting.
Who are your favorite artists, groups, bands, whatever at the moment? Broaden my horizons.
I don't know, dude. It's hard to say. I haven't searched in a while. I mean, I like a lot of different groups. It really depends on what you're looking for.
I can listen to anything that isn't elevator music.
Okay, well, I'm listening to a lot of Drake at the moment. If that makes you feel better.
In very small bursts, I can handle it.
Bad, not good. There you go. If you like kind of jazzy-ish stuff, I guess.
Is that like the weird Asian four-piece?
No.
Bad, not good.
No. You're thinking of... Well, I don't know what you're thinking of, actually. Toei, or Tay, I guess, or some of the, post-rock, like Japanese bands I listen to sometimes, but...
Hey, Destiny.
What's up, buddy?
How come Trump won the election if so many people are protesting against him? That's a serious question. I'm not trolling, by the way.
I guess there are two kind of things going on. The way that we elect our president is kind of strange. Technically, Trump won the electoral college vote, not the popular vote. So technically, more people voted for Hillary than Trump. However, even if that wasn't the case, it's not really relevant. The country is pretty divided. That the election was very close, and Trump represents a very extreme form of thinking that goes extremely far against what people on the left believe. So a lot of people are protesting them because they see it as an affront to a lot of American rights or civil liberties and whatnot.
The fact that Hillary won the popular vote but didn't get into office.
Some people bring that up, but I don't honestly think it matters that much. I think people would still be protesting regardless.
Okay. Are you having a hard time understanding me, my accent at all?
No. There's actually an Australian guy that visits me every now and then. He's actually coming again pretty soon. I don't know if he's in chat. I don't want to say his name. I don't know if he's in race, but yeah, I talked to him, and his accent is actually much thicker than yours.
Well, I get called a bogan for my accent. Thanks for making me feel better, dude.
No problem, buddy.
So when you get a ballot paper there in the US, because I've just tried to Google one, I don't know whether or not to believe what it looks like. Is it just the candidate's name, or is it that you vote for the Senate and then the candidate happens to be part of that Senate?
It's you vote for the presidential candidate, and then you also vote for like the Senate and House candidates and your local stuff too. It's all thrown into the same kind of ballot.
Okay, because here there's two ways you can vote. You can either put them between 1 and 5, so your priority number 1 would be who you want the most, and 5 who you agree with, but you'd prefer the other four before them.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can do it that you are really autistic and have a lot of time on your hands, and you do it 1 to 32, and you actually do the individual the individual people that make up that party,
Sure.
which is hella autistic.
Some people like a lot of choice, man.
Do you even have that much time to watch like fucking news to know what's going on
No,
in this post fact world, Destiny?
I don't know how. I don't. Do you guys? This is gonna sound really. Do you guys have like political parties in Australia? I imagine you do, right? Oh.
No, we've only got one. It's called the Nazi Party. No, I'm joking. Yeah, we do have political
Your voting
parties.
system. You get to vote for multiple people, don't you?
Yes, we can put a
Yeah.
vote towards multiple people at
Yeah.
different priorities, though.
Yeah, we're not allowed to do that. So we have a two-party system as a result of that. Yeah, it kind of sucks.
But we kind of have a two-party system because we've only got two parties that have got any traction.
Oh, sure.
Like ours is broken into the Liberal Party, which is our Conservative Party, and then the Labour Party, which is our left-wing party.
Sure.
But with Australian politics, the general problem with it is that they both hold the same ideals. It's just that their priorities are different. I'm not saying this to represent how they are at the moment, but for example, both parties do want to legalize gay marriage. It's just that for one, it's number 3 on the list, and the other, it's number 7 on the list.
Gotcha.
So in that sense, a lot of conservative Australians feel left out of the voting process because we don't have a true conservative candidate.
Gotcha.
Do you agree with the statement, because you guys don't have compulsory voting over there, the places with the lowest fucking voting percentage have the most crime?
I don't know if that's true or not. It might be. It wouldn't surprise me. Wealthier people tend to vote. Poor areas tend to have more crime. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
But didn't the poorer areas win the vote for Trump?
Kind of. Rural areas did, yeah. But there are also poor minorities that vote for Democrats in general.
Just off the top of my head and my knowledge, I don't see how it could work for a minority to ever vote Democratic. Not a minority, sorry, a poor person to vote Democratic.
Well, they vote Democratic typically because Democrat policies tend to favor poorer people more, and Republican policies tend to favor businesses and wealthy people more.
But I don't believe that to be the case, though, because I believe that when you vote the Democrats and you sort of lean towards more of a social system, rich people are more inclined to vote for them because realistically, the richer people can afford to drop a class to provide those social benefits, whereas the poorer people who might not necessarily be able to reap 100% of the advantages of that can't really drop down that social class to pay for other people's stuff.
That's not how it's typically seen in America. What you're talking about is redistribution of wealth, which is seen as like an evil thing in the United States that must be avoided at all costs, typically.
But like ultimately, that's what happens under a democratic economy, a democratic fucking party
What happens?
economy system. The redistribution of wealth. That's exactly how it would go down on a left-wing system.
Yeah, for Democrats. Yeah, that's why poor people tend to vote for that way, because poor people want to redistribute wealth from wealthy people, and wealthy people want to hold on to their wealth.
Yes, but my whole argument is that the people that vote Democratic are rich because they can afford to drop that social class through the redistribution of wealth.
Yeah, but they don't want to drop that social class.
So then why are mostly rich areas voting Republican?
I don't think. I don't.
Sorry,
well,
then why are mostly rural areas that have got like an unproportionate amount of poverty voting Republican?
Oh, because they break down along different lines. There are a lot of. This gets into really complicated political theory. A lot of these people vote based on racial issues. So white people are more likely to be white, obviously in white rural areas, are more likely to vote because of race-related things. White people that are Christians are much more likely to vote with the Republican Party. Religion is a very big aspect there. If you're very religious, you're probably voting Republican and not Democrat. There are other factors that play in there.
I get you, but surely race can't be that divisive, when there is quite a large amount of different races in America compared to white if you do the total number.
Race is very divisive in America. It's probably divisive all over the world, but it's very divisive in America. In rural areas, we have diversity in America of skin color for sure, but a lot of that diversity is hardcore contained into certain areas. Like, even though I think 10% or whatever of our population is black people, they're all in 15 cities across the United States. There are no black people in, like rural Kansas. There are no black people in, my state of Nebraska. There are no black people in a lot of these rural areas that are predominantly white. And you'll find a lot more racist people in those areas. Like, if you go into the deep south in the United States, you can still find some good old classic racism. People that openly, they don't even call them niggers, they call them negros, like just real racist people in the south of the United States still.
Well, on that, you said there's 10%, black people in the US, and there's only 4% Asian people, but the Asian people that are 4% even outperform the white people.
Yeah, there's a lot of different explanations for that. I don't know enough to go into it, but a lot of the Asians that come over are literally only coming over because they're here to study and to do very, very, very well. So when you talk about Asian people in the US, you're literally getting the best of the Chinese coming over to study and excel in America. So it makes sense that they're going to do the best, Kind of like how if you run into a white person in China, they're probably pretty wealthy because you're not getting a bunch of poor white people traveling to China, right? That doesn't make sense,
But even if you look at the Asian cohort as a whole, the US was at war with various parts of Asia for a very long time over different issues. So how come they never experienced racism coming over from Vietnam or even the Korean War?
Wait, why didn't who experience racism?
Chinese people.
Like in the United States?
Yes.
They do experience it, but to a lesser degree. Our history of racism, I guess, you've got a lot of people that talk about the gooks and the chinks and whatnot. Depending on how old your grandpa is, he might even use terms like Charlie, were words that were referred to, I think, the Vietnamese in the Vietnam War. There are still older people that harbor those resentful feelings. But I guess when you talk about current policy today in the United States, you don't really have as much dealings with them because they're not presented in the United States the same way that black people are presented in the United States. Oh yeah, Orientals is another word you might hear.
So then what are you using? Then what metric here are we using if we can't use socioeconomic, if we can't use history here as an exclusion factor? What are we using to say that America is highly divisive by skin color or race?
Well, it's divisive in that it's very divisive in our politics. Like, for instance, the right-leaning party right now, there's a lot of people that agree with the right-leaning party that are very much pro. A lot of people will say they're very nationalist or they're very pro protecting their culture. These are people that are pro-white people. They say it in a lot of different ways, and people are going to be mad for saying it, but these are generally people that are pro-white people. Anytime you hear people talking about how immigrants are taking over or immigrants are displacing the natives, these are people that don't like a lot of brown people coming into the country and being in greater numbers than the white people, right? That's a very big common thing that's spoken about on the right. Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
No, I'm very, very anti-culture. Ever since I'm young, I've been a pretty. I'm just a very. It sounds like a meme. No, it's not a meme because I make my living doing this. I'm a very independent person. I don't usually like to associate with groups very much. I don't like the idea of groupthink and all of that. So I try to stay away from that kind of stuff as much as possible. I don't like culture at all. I just think it's kind of dumb. I would rather just everybody do their own thing and, yeah. So I don't know. I don't consider myself to be part of that very much.
You don't feel slightly biased when you make these opinions about immigration racism because you've said it before that you're a descendant of migrants to the US?
No, I don't really. The way that I was raised, I only use that depending on what the argument exactly is. I don't think that that's a fair statement of me to make, though. I'm very much a white person, and I experienced America in terms of how other people treat me as a white American. So I don't think that I never make the claim that I was born and raised and I experienced everything Cubans and Hispanic people or Mexicans experience in the United States, because that's not really true. In terms of things that I learned at home, all of my values were very much influenced by my mom being Cuban, because Cubans are very right-leaning because they hate the Democrats in the United States. So Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that me being partly Cuban shades that. I was also very conservative growing up, so
Just to confirm before I fucking make my next statement, yeah, you're still in Nebraska, right?
correct. Yeah.
Well, when you talk about the effects of different races within certain communities, you know, the statistics I've got here, if you want to refute them, I'll get another source, says that 86% of Nebraska is white people.
Yeah. There's probably, and then the
Um,
next is probably Mexicans, and then probably black people.
I don't necessarily feel as if like that. I think it's a little bit out of your depth to talk about the effects that it can have, multiculturalism in a society where the makeup of where you live is that. Because in
Oh,
Sydney,
sure.
which is where I am,
Hmm.
there is a huge difference and a huge amount of isolation between communities because of immigration.
Yeah, sure. I can imagine that. My city is probably going to be a lot more device. You could look up statistics for Omaha. My city is probably a lot, not device. My city is a lot more diverse than the whole of Nebraska is. The majority of Nebraska is definitely going to be white people, especially going out west. I don't know. I guess it's hard for me to say that, but I mean anywhere. I mean I've traveled around the world and it's never really bothered me. You know, I was in South Korea for a month. I lived in Warsaw for 3 months in Poland. You know, I've been in Germany a few times. Some of these places are white. Some of these places aren't as white. You know, I don't mind going to Vegas and hanging out with people that are a different skin color than me. Like, I don't know. That's just something that I guess because I consider myself to be very individualistic, I never really look at like white culture or any of these white traditions or whatever as being an integral part of my identity because I spend so much time as a streamer and an entertainer trying to form my own unique identity that I don't really identify much with that, if that makes sense.
I understand that.
Any family event I do is also predominantly Cuban people that I'm visiting, some of which can't even really speak English, if that counts at all, I guess. I don't know. Oh, I spent a few months in Hialeah in Miami over a couple summers with my grandmother. These were all very predominantly Cuban places with a lot of Cuban speaking people.
Yeah, just I'm not trying to put you down when I say this or anything, but unless you are able to drive 10 minutes in one direction and see how better one suburb, well, it's not better, how different a suburb looks between another, just because one suburb's called the Italian suburb and then the other suburb's known as the Lebanese suburb. When you're able to see those massive devices in your community,
Yeah,
you can definitely
I
see
definitely,
that there is
I
an
see
issue.
those. Yeah, I see those divides, of course. In Omaha, my first house, I have two houses. My first house is in a place called South. People call it South Omaha. South Omaha is where all the Mexicans live, and then we have North Omaha, which is where all the black people live. All of the violence and all of the crime and all the shootings. If you go and you look it up on KETV or any local Omaha news site, is always coming from North Omaha. That's where people are getting shot and stabbed at, because that's where all the black people live. South Omaha tends to be a little bit more impoverished. In terms of economics and whatnot. I moved out, my house that I own now, I moved out to West Omaha because this is where all the wealthy white people are and the public schools out here are better. So I moved out here so that Nathan could be in a better school.
Fuck, your privilege is really seeping through, dude.
Yeah, it
No,
is. I mean, like I say these, like I say this with a degree of normalcy, but I think that that's really sad that my child is going to have a better chance at life than the poor Mexican or the poor black dude living in South or North Omaha just because I've got the money to move out west and go to a better school. I don't like that. I think that's a really negative thing.
but is it like really sad to you?
Yes.
Because the only way that I can, you know, see that being recuperated is if, fuck, I feel really weird talking about a child that's alive. Um, sorry, that your child's current, I should say.
Yeah, he's still alive too. Yeah.
Oh, thank fuck, man. Just double checking. Sweats to me. I feel like that he would have to take a hit in his sort of level of education to give them a better one. And this all winds back to the point of what I was saying, that you are okay making the liberal sacrifices because you can afford to drop down a socioeconomic class.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as a potentially negative thing if my taxes have to go up a little bit so that, you know, black people or Mexican kids or whatever are able to get a little bit of a better education. Like, I don't necessarily mind that. I can afford it.
Yeah, but does it put a dent into your thinking as to why poorer people might lean conservative?
No, because no, I don't think so. In the United, I don't know how it works in Canada. In the United States, we have something called a progressive tax system. Do you know if yours is similar?
Progressive. Well, obviously, the higher your income, the more tax you pay.
Yeah, exactly. So poorer people in the United States, regardless of who's in office, are never paying as much as people like me or wealthier people. Like they're always paying a lower percentage or a 0% or a negative percentage, depending on who you are.
Just let me quickly look up the tax brackets for your country. What the fuck? People get taxed income at $9,000 in the US?
Kind of. The tax brackets are really bad to look up. It doesn't. That's not how the system really works. But a lot of people
Because
act like
here
it does.
we're fucking tax free until about 39,000 a year here.
We're more or less the same. Not quite as nice, but more or less, yeah.
Yeah, I can just disregard that $9,000 income.
You can
thing.
disregard
That's-
almost everything about the posted rates. The posted rates in America are never paid. That's not what people pay in taxes.
so your deduction, you can
Yes.
take deductions on things, obviously,
Yeah.
that would
And
fuck
it's
with it.
our
Sure,
deduction system is very, very, very complicated. Very complicated, yeah. That's one of the reasons why talking about tax policy in the United States is very frustrating. I have a better understanding of taxes than most people just because mine are more complicated than the average person's. So listening to people talk about taxes with no background in them at all is very, very, very frustrating. Oftentimes because people will bring up the posted rates, which have no place in reality. They just don't mean anything.
Yes, sure. So just so we're working in simple numbers here, if the posted tax rate here for $10,000 a year is 10%, after deductions and whatnot, what could someone realistically be paying?
Could you give me an income? So like, let's say for instance, you make 30,000 in a year, right? What are the posted rates for that?
For 30,000, the posted rates are 15%.
Sure. It first of all, it doesn't exactly that, but we'll pretend that it's 50%, right? If somebody legitimately is making $30,000 in a year, if I had to guess, hold on one second. Fuck. Okay, never mind. I can't bring up my calculator. If I had to guess, I would say that this person's tax liability is probably going to be around, fuck me, dude. Maybe $30,000. Oof. Maybe anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 would be my guess. 5,000. Because you're always paying FICA, which is 7 point something percent, I think. 7.5 times $30,000, and then it depends a lot on if you have children. Whoops. So that's $2,250 right there. And then it depends a lot on if you have children, and it depends on how much money you earn. We said $30,000. It depends on if you own a house. Yeah. And I don't know how the earned income credit or any of that works because I haven't paid into that bracket in a long time. That would be like my guess. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, household income of 30,000. Federal income tax calculator. Wait, are you still here?
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, okay. So here, this is the federal income tax calculator. Oh, I don't know how to link this to you because we're in Discord. This thing estimates it at $11,600, but that's before any deduction. So yeah, it would probably be around anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 would be my guess. I don't know. It's hard to calculate it, and it depends on variables too.
Then doesn't that kind of go against your argument that you're paying a lot less on tax because your deductions and stuff when you want to be paying more tax so it can go to helping those underprivileged children?
Wait, what do you mean?
You said that that fucking your tax dollars, you pay tax, so that should go towards helping underprivileged children and whatnot.
Yeah, sure.
But we're talking about deductions here and whatnot. So shouldn't you be wanting to pay more tax to help those people?
Yeah, but it would have to be as a matter of government policy. I'll never voluntarily donate money to the federal government. I don't think that's how it should work. The government needs to update their policies and make the tax policy so that everybody has to pay and not rely on, charitable donations from people fucking up their taxes, I don't think.
Are you allowed to donate to your government there for whatever reason?
Donate? No.
But I think with the whole liberal, rhetoric, it just comes down to a lot of overprivileged people that want to see, positive things happen to underprivileged people, but it's always on someone else's fund. And I can't get around that. I can't get behind supporting that.
I mean, I guess I don't know what to say. I mean, there might be some people like that. Like I said, I'm always in favor of raising taxes if it's going to go to a good place or a worthy cause. But I mean, I can't speak for anybody. I'm sure you could find some hypocrites in there, sure.
Well, let's say at the fucking end of the tax year, you got a nice form you could fill out, and it said what percentage of where your tax went. Let's say the three
Zero.
big
I would put
ones.
0% on everything. It has to be done by force. I'm never going to elect to give more money to the government. It would be 0 on everything.
All right, let's say you got to give a minimum of 10% of your fucking income every year to tax.
Then it would be
right?
10%.
Regardless of your income.
Sure.
Right. Where would you align it to? Like 3% military spending, 3% education. Where would you put it?
Oh, I don't
3%
know.
into infrastructure.
I don't know. That would be like a really, really hard. I'm not sure. I don't know what needs the most money. I mean, the government's job is to allocate those funds appropriately. I don't know like what needs the most funding.
You should play some MMOs, man.
I played EVE Online for a little while. Does that count?
Holy shit. How long were you playing Eve for?
Maybe the better part of a year, maybe.
Did you play it on stream?
Unfortunately, a little bit, yeah. But it's kind of an impossible game to stream, so
Yeah, shit posting must have been real.
yeah.
Have you thought about trying out one of the more mainstream MMOs like WoW, Guild Wars, or something?
Nah, it seems like really big time sinks.
WoW, not so much, but if you want to start talking like Black Desert Online, then yeah, sure.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about Black Desert Online, sorry.
It's very anime, so you should like it.
Oh, shit.
Do you guys get the MX5 over in the US?
Are you talking cars now?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I don't know what. I haven't actually like seriously gone out looking for one yet.
Miata, that's what it is, Miata. That's
Yeah.
what it's called over there.
Wait, why did you bring that up?
Because I'm looking at some right now for myself.
Oh. Oh, okay, yeah. That was the car. I've talked about it a lot on stream. If I were to buy a new car, that would be the one I would get.
The ND, or would you buy an older one and do whatever you wanted to it?
Wait, what does ND mean?
So the first generation of Miata was called the NA, and then NB, NC, and now we're on generation ND, which is a 2016 forward model.
Tiny 16 forward model? Wait, what does that mean? Sorry.
What?
What does a tiny 16 mean? Tiny, what's the tiny?
I didn't say tiny 16, dude. Fuck, I'm not talking about your dick. Fucking the first generation of Miata was the NA, then second was NB, and then it went NC, and then the 2016 model moving forward is going to be the ND.
Oh, these are just like what, like body styles or whatever?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I would probably just get the newest one available. I don't know. I've always
Yes,
seen
sir.
good reports about the newest ones coming out. I haven't seen anything bad about it. So,
Have you seen the Fiat version, the 124?
nope.
So Fiat are making something in the ND chassis, which is a 1.4 turbo. And it's a reboot of their old 124 series, which was a two-door sports coupe. It came in convertible or normal. I guess you should look into that if you guys get Fiat imported over there.
Yeah, sure, maybe.
It might be a little bit more of a premium. I know here that the Fiat is about, I think the dealer said 60 grand. So I don't know what that would translate there for you.
Yeah, because everything is more expensive in your country, right?
Yeah, dude, everything. We pay $100 for brand new games.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Just like, you know, a $5 donation costs $7.50.
Damn.
Actually, you know what? You fucking cucked me once. You cucked me really hard once, yeah?
How did I cuck you?
So I went to donate $5 to put up a very, very zesty meme. And because I donated it in Australian dollars, it wasn't the $5 to get the text to speech to come up.
Damn.
You cucked me super fucking hard, dude.
You sound pretty cucked, mate.
Yeah, man, that cut me up for a long time. What other cars should I look at, Destiny? Tell me.
I don't know. It didn't seem like there was anything that really competed with the Miata. The Subaru WRZ.
WRX.
WRX. It's the BRZ and the WRX, right? Yeah. One of them, the BRZ is the ugly one with the scoop, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then the WRX was the one I think that more closely competed with the Miata. I don't know. Every time I saw a review of it, of people driving it or comparing the two, the Miata always seemed to edge it out. I guess when you look at car reviews, I've really never seen anybody say anything bad about a Miata ever. I haven't found it before. And every competition where they put it head to head with another car, it always seems like the Miata edges it out. So, and I don't know. The Subaru is like the WRX was like 600 pounds heavier and whatnot too. Like I don't know. The Miata seems like really fun to drive.
You can't compare the WRX and the Miata at all. They're not comparable cars.
Yeah, but it seems really hard. I mean, in terms of cars that you can compare, like what else more closely compares with a Miata? Oh wait, I'm sorry. I might be thinking of the BRZ, not the WRX. Which one? The WRX was the one with the nasty scoop. I'm thinking of the BRZ then. I'm sorry, my bad. But yeah,
Yes.
in terms of like size, like the Miata's really fucking small. Like what else?
What else competes with the Miata? Not really anything else now that I think about it.
Yeah. People are saying the S2000. Is that the Toyota thing? And that's a car
Is
that's
there
not
an
made anymore, right? Oh, the Honda. I don't think that's
Yeah,
made anymore,
unless-
is it?
yeah, unless there's a new S2000, but even then, you could argue that the S2000 isn't really a comparison to the Miata. Because the fucking S2000 was definitely not made with handling in mind.
Oh, is it
tell you
like
that.
a line or whatever, like a big quarter-mile memer or something?
Well, yeah, it's a really powerful engine
Gotcha.
for the car, whereas the Miata is a bit more sensible, where it's like what 100 and what would the new Miata be, about 140 kilowatt, whereas the S2000 is,
How
geez,
does
I don't even
how
remember.
does kilowatt compare to horsepower? I use American memes.
Oh, you use American memes. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, my bad.
The Miata is like 155 horsepower. I see that, and then the S2000 is something
About 250
237.
horsepower.
Yeah, 237 to about 250. Yeah. Yeah, but and it's also like 500 pounds heavier too. So. I like the smaller cars. I like to be able to drive and have fun, but for it to also be like really fuel efficient. I don't like to drive around massive vehicles. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really big on the V8 memes myself either.
Yeah, no.
Seems really inefficient, but in this fucking country, everyone's got their big 6 liters.
In your country, isn't gas really expensive for you guys, or is that not true?
At the moment, we're paying about $1.35 a liter for premium.
Liter? What the fuck is that, dude? How many liters in a gallon? Is it like 4, 3.9 or some bullshit?
Let's have a look. 3.7 liters in a gallon.
Okay, and you pay how much?
$1.35.
$1.35 times 3.7. Times 3.74. Oh, so that's actually not bad at all. In Australian dollars, that's actually really cheap compared to Europe, isn't it? Like standard European pricing?
Yeah, but what's Europe got to do with this?
Oh, I just assume that as an American, every time I visit Europe, like gas prices are always like insanely fucking expensive. Like, aren't they paying like €4 a liter or some shit? Like some crazy expensive shit. Not that much, but like, so as an American, I'm used to hearing everybody else having way more expensive gas than us. I would have assumed the same would have been true in Australia.
Now, our petrol prices are pretty reasonable, to be honest. We had one time where they were getting too close to $2 a liter. I think it might have even broken it for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we had to dip down to as low as 99 cents a liter.
Gotcha.
What are you building?
A little castle. Why, is that a problem? You got a problem with that?
Maybe I fucking do. I just don't play Minecraft. I've never played it, so I don't know what I'm looking at.
Oh, sure. Hold on, let me look up real fast. Average I want to say like I want to say I'm going to guess €2 per liter is my guess. So average gas price Germany.
You need to keep in mind as well is that most of Europe is on diesel.
Sure. Oh, I guess that's not as much as I was expecting it. They pay $5.57 per gallon. So okay, never mind. So 5.57 divided by 3.7 would be $1.50, and then $1.50 USD to euro is going to be, so they pay about €1.40 per gallon. Damn, why did I think gas was so much more expensive here? I guess when we were paying like $2 or $3 a gallon, it was still this high, but this isn't really that bad. Huh. Okay, never mind.
Destiny, can you rate my the joke I used to break the ice on Tinder and let me know what you think of it?
Yeah, go for it.
What do you call a chicken with lettuce in its eye?
What do you call it?
Chicken Caesar salad.
Wow, dude, that was a pretty fucking shit meme. I would probably remove you instantly, but...
Come on, what did chat think? What's your best one-liner joke, Destiny? Share us your magic.
I'm a video game streamer. I have a large audience and lots of money, so come fuck me. That's all I got, dude. Or if I'm in an Asian country, you can just say you're white, and then people will want to fuck you automatically, dude. It's amazing.
Oh, that's a bit of a meme from what I've heard.
Oh, I don't think, or it wasn't that way in South Korea. Maybe in other Asian countries it's not quite as true, but I've heard similar things from people that went to China as well, that if you're white, like all the girls instantly assume that you're, in Korea, they assume that you're very wealthy if you're white, and then look favorably upon you and whatnot. A lot of Asian culture, or well, at least in Korea and I think in Japan, they kind of fetishize white people quite a bit as well.
I've always thought that Japan especially can't really speak to Koreans. They've always been kind of militant against white culture.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not like a fucking culture expert though. I know that like in anime and whatnot, I know that a lot of white people features are fetishized very heavily. That's why in anime they often have very large eyes and breasts and very pale skin is also like all very highly desirable things. That's why the old geishas in Japanese culture would paint themselves white.
I mean, they're not mistaken when saying they have white skin though.
Sure.
So when are you going to go back to South Korea and find a wife then?
Probably never. I never like that. The fawning over somebody shit. I need strong, independent women.
Why don't you just go wherever you said the minorities were and just, in your GTI?
I already am, dude. I'm dating a minority. She's Mexican, so there you go.
Is Mexican really a minority?
In the United States, yeah, it still is. Believe it or not.
I wouldn't think so, because we have more fucking Mexican food chains here than Chinese food ones.
Damn.
But definitely no Ethiopian food.
Is Ethiopian food good shit?
I don't fucking know, dude. I haven't been in my backyard.
Is that a fucking meme because
lately.
Ethiopians are starving? Do you think that's fucking funny, dude?
It's fucking hilarious. My privilege, man.
Damn.
But like, I'm privileged, yeah. I don't see you pull the card too much. Like, you're mostly reasonable, but there's a lot of people here in fucking university culture where it just seems to be pull the privilege card, and that's the get out mechanism for a lot of shit,
Yeah, it's really shitty when people hardcore try to guilt trip you on it, but I guess to answer why people probably do that, the privilege in action is a really, really, really shitty thing. Going from being very poor to being very wealthy, like that's one of the reasons why I'm so left leaning now, and I fit the stereotype perfectly because when I was poor I was very fucking conservative. But now that I'm much wealthier than I was in the past, I'm very, very, very left leaning. Like the privilege thing is just fucks every part of your life over. I don't know. It's just really disappointing. If you're poor and you get arrested, you're going to face worse penalties and worse fines, which just seems like the worst thing in the world. Like just because you're poor, you're going to get sentenced to something worse in court. You're going to drive a shittier vehicle. You have a higher chance of dying in a fucking car accident. You've got to work longer hours, which leads to a degradation of family life, which hurts your child's ability to grow up as a functioning adult. Your access to education is worse. Your access to medical treatment is worse. Oftentimes, your access to healthy food is worse. You're always eating, like the cheapest and worst and shittiest fast food and whatnot. I don't know. Just being poor sucks in so many ways, and rich people have it so much better in so many ways than poor people that I don't know. It's really sad to see, I think.
But do you think like the concept of privilege actually exists, or?
Oh yeah, of course the concept exists. Yeah, of course. You don't think so?
And I think it exists to a degree, but I don't think it exists to a degree enough that I should feel guilty for my existence about any more where someone should feel hate towards me for my existence.
Yeah, so I don't think anybody should feel guilty or anybody should feel hate. I think that some liberals try to play that card and it's really stupid. I just think that the desire should be to move everybody up towards more privileged status. I think should be the desire rather than to try to guilt trip people because they are privileged, I think.
Well, that's it. I agree with that. You know, I didn't even, once again, back to fucking your election in my country. Your election was a big thing in my country. It got a lot of talk. It got a lot of news time. The concept of privilege and all that was pushed on and antagonized onto anyone that seemed to be well off. And that's probably the biggest thing that's left me sour. Whereas before, the I don't even know what to call it, campus opinions ran wild. I was very left leaning myself, but definitely after seeing the way the left carried itself through this, I'd arrange myself as more conservative now.
Yeah, for sure. And depending on what side you're on, you can get those same feelings on both sides. So, like as a poor person, so as a wealthy person, you might get tired of hearing that all the time, like, oh, you're privileged, blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh, dude, like, fuck you, man. Like, I had to work for my shit. Like, it's not like people gave it to me or whatever, right? Like, and so you start to feel resentment towards people saying that, which is understandable. But then on the flip side, you have a lot of wealthy people. You've got people literally born. Oh man, I don't know how much you listen to my stream, but I had a conversation with a guy who was talking about how poor people are 100% to blame for their own problems. They just need to shape up and get better. Everybody has the opportunity to do great. And this guy had two parents that were both doctors, right? And he was talking about how, you know, like people just need to work harder and they'll be able to do, you know,
was
better.
this the guy that brought his lawyer on?
Yes.
His lawyer friend?
Yeah, it was that
and
guy.
halfway through the conversation, am I getting paid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to your YouTube stuff. I don't really.
Yeah, but it was that guy. Yeah, so that guy was like very adamant about how, you know, everybody has opportunity and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, I mean, sure to some extent, but damn, that's really easy for you to say as somebody with two doctors as parents. Like, have a little bit of perspective. And I think that frustrating lack of perspective is very 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 irritating to some people that are born into worse scenarios. And now having been on both sides of it, like I can definitely understand that frustration. I always call it like I call it mommy daddy welfare. But like when I hear kids talk about how stupid poor people are for not doing more with their education, and they're literally living on mommy daddy welfare well into their, you know, mid-20s, they still have parents paying their cell phone bills and shit, like yeah, like that really rubs me the wrong way.
Well, at what point would you draw the line personally between fucking when parents should start saying, well, future parents start saying, hey, we're gonna have to fucking provide a future for this kid? Like, when do you lay the guilt off the parents that, you know, made these people and they shouldn't have been so short-sighted? Where do you start to put the responsibility?
Whoa, what? No, I don't think that there's any guilt. I think if you are a parent and you have the ability to fund your child the entire time, like, yeah, I would think that's a great thing. I failed college. I came out of high school. I was a pretty smart person in high school. I got a 35 on the ACT, which is one off of like a perfect score for a standardized test. I was relatively smart. I took a ton of AP classes, right? And with all of that, I failed music school. I failed out, and I was barely through the fucking gen ed part. But I failed it because I was working so much. Like and working full time and doing school, like I couldn't do that. Like it just sucked for me. And to know, and there were people in worse positions than I was. So to know that I consider myself to be a relatively smart person, and I couldn't even get through school working full time, and to know that there are people that do that, you know, sometimes with fucking kids, like that's unimaginable to me. Like, and to hear somebody who is like literally like in their early mid-20s, who is like on their 5th year of haven't even really picked a real major yet, whose mom and dad are paying for everything, to tell a poor person like, hey, you know, ship up, like just do better, like you need to earn your shit. It's like, damn, dude, you didn't do fuck all. You didn't do fucking anything, man. Your mom and dad are paying for everything for you. Why are you sitting here telling other people that they need to work harder? Like, you haven't worked for shit, dude. Like, I don't know. I can see where a lot of that resentment comes in from poorer people. That is that's like really irritating, you know?
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't know whether you guys even measure the statistic for this, but if you compare a family's wealth to where it starts when they first become of age, in Australia it's 18, over there it's 21. If you compare the money that they make over their lifetime, no one ever dies in the same class that they were born to.
Sure. I mean, there is some mobility in classes, but I mean, like, there's also a lot of the term that I see economics refer this, or economists refer to this as the stickiness at the ends. So people that are born very wealthy tend to remain in the top 2 quintiles, the upper 40% of society's wealth, and people that are born very poor tend to remain in the bottom 2 quintiles of their country's wealth, or in the United States. I can't speak to Australia, but in the United States, that's typically how it goes.
I feel like the underprivileged people that are at the forefront of a lot of left argument are a very, very small minority. Like, I'm not too sure. I can't speak for there, but for here at least, no one, even if you're homeless in Australia, you'll never starve to death. You know, there's always there's programs and stuff that avoid, you know, having dead homeless people on the street and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it's similar here in
So,
America. Yeah.
I believe that there's not a lot of people that are really on this massive line that people are kicking up a stink about. Really.
Well, but like that, but as a first world country, we're past that. That's not our goal. Our goal isn't to keep people from starving to death now. We want everybody to excel. We don't want people to be doing better than the children in Ethiopia. We want people to be doing better compared to the fuckers in Germany that are all graduating with these insane degrees that are so smart, or better than people in Switzerland or Sweden or Finland or Norway, right? These countries with amazing educational systems. Those are our competition. We're not competing with the impoverished. So like the idea that like, well, these people aren't starving to death, so they're fine. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
But all this comes down to is that some people have to be able to afford to drop a social class in order to spread that.
Like, I don't know if you have to drop like a whole, like you keep saying drop a social class. I don't know if you necessarily have to drop an entire social class to pay a little bit more in taxes sometimes. Like, I don't know.
But that's what it would be. Like, it'd be the idea of, well, instead of having one person up here and one person down there, we need to meet in the middle and then we'd both be there, which in the end...
I don't think I don't agree with that, though. Economics in general doesn't work that way. Economics isn't a zero-sum game. You don't have to cut from one area to gain in another. It's possible to make very small cuts in some areas and make very large gains in other areas. It really depends on how you treat everything. For instance, like maybe a small tax on wealthy people this is a completely hypothetical, but like a small tax that helps, a small tax on wealthy people that in some way dramatically increases education might lead to an effect where more and more people become educated, their children are born less in poverty, and then they're less reliant on that type of welfare. And then you get like a really positive effect going on there, you know? Kind of like in the black community right now, like you have a very negative effect going on, right? Where people are very uneducated, much more likely to have children out of wedlock. Being part of a single parent household is one of the leading indicators of being a criminal, right? And so if you're in a single parent household with access to shitty education, more or less you're going to create more people that are in single parent households with shit, right? It's like this horrible cyclical thing. Whereas if you can give it a little bit of a kick to send it in the other direction, you know, you can create a positive feedback loop that's good for everybody without necessarily having to like have everybody donate all of their money to impact these things, you know?
Yeah, but all of that is definitely leading towards a very socialist structure of everyone being in a singular class. Part of the free market and capitalist system is that there is very, very distinct classes, and it's literally a matter of tax. It's not a matter of any sort of social reform that would allow people access to this stuff. It would have to take out of someone else's pocket every single time if you keep the same structure, same capital structure.
But people are capable of generating economies on their own. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't know. That gets into like a really complicated discussion on wealth and growing economies and whatnot. Like,
sorry, can you repeat the last sentence again? Sorry.
Wait. What did I just say? What were we just talking about? I just read something in chat.
Talking about economy, and then you said this isn't.
Yeah, you'd have to get into a very complication on like growing an economy and making an economy good for everybody. Like, I mean, that's kind of like a whole complicated matter in and of itself.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's complicated, but all this goes back to that. People are happy to do it as long as it's not out of their own pocket. Yeah,
but what I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily have to come out of somebody's own pocket.
Where does it come from? Because money in this context, once it's in the government, once it's ready for spending, isn't created to be spent. It has to be taken out of the well that's already there, that's already available.
So let me give you an example on immigration, okay? I'll do it here, and then you can extrapolate this to other areas as well, right? So let's say that you have a bunch of immigrants coming into your country, okay? A bunch of immigrants come into the country, and that is viewed, and you could view that as a closed kind of thing. Like, okay, well, immigrants come in, they get paid less wages, and natives get paid less wages because they came in and now they depress the supply of labor, and now everybody is fucked because of that. So we had some losers and we had some winners, right? But it's possible that you can enact policy that redistributes a little bit of that wealth from the winners to the losers and makes everybody better off. So let's say that some immigrants come into a country, right? And because they come into the country, a business is able to pay slightly fewer in wages, right? Because that company is paying less in wages, maybe you can tax them to allocate